Good afternoon. Coming on a rainy afternoon in Hualien. I'd like to begin by reading a quote from the Bible. And reading being the operative term here. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get, a time to lose, a time to keep, and a time to cast away, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time to keep silence, a time to speak, a time to love, a time to hate, a time of war, and a time of peace. Beautiful. And this came to me as I pondered recent developments in my own life. Luckily, great news for me. My younger brother is in the process of moving here from Hawaii, and his wife will join him as well. And it's just a really great opportunity for me. It just fills my heart. I really couldn't construct a better scenario. Over the last 40 years, we've only seen each other now and then. And it makes sense that in our golden years, that we will spend much time together. He's been here the last 4 days, receiving his household goods from Hawaii, a container, 20-foot container, which has been unloaded and placed in his new house in Hualien. And a couple of days, another container will be coming with his surfboard business. He's not only brought himself and his wife, but also his business of 20-some years in Hawaii. And it's been really a time. It's been an amazing 4 days. My brother, unlike myself, is a dynamo of energy. He always has been. He's a businessman, no nonsense, da. And I remember working really hard with him one morning, and we had done more things than I'd probably normally do in a week already that morning. And he remarked that it seems so strange that he has the afternoon free No more appointments, no more to-do lists. After 3 days of non-stop, this is the 4th day, and I was with him all morning, and I've just woken up from a monumental 3-hour nap in the hopes of catching up a little bit after these hectic days. Luckily for me, it's raining this afternoon, so how's that for a bonus? Nothing's better than a long nap on a spring day where it's cool. But more that's been going on than just the physical. It's the first real long period of time we spent together since the 5 years of my permanent awakening. He's known me forever in my perpetual, my progressive awakening. And he's not surprised at all. He pretty much guessed that I was destined for such a thing. But there's so much expectations that people have of those they know to have had this life-altering, this return to the roots, this celebration of ordinariness, this experience of seeing what's so. Expectations go along with that. And I make no effort to fulfill anybody's expectations, much less my own. I don't even impose them on myself. Because for me, I'm in uncharted territory. I have no roadmap of behavior modification, behavior guidance, acceptable range of behaviors. I have Adyashanti and Sadhguru, but I have no idea what it's like to walk in their shoes, as indeed they have no idea what it's like to be me. My brother is not without expectations. He's not surprised, he's able to accept. But he teases me when old stuff comes up. I'm the big brother. And it's really funny how I've fallen back into that role immediately in our time together. And because it's been a time of emotional roller coasters, reliving the old, which many times is quite disturbing to any kind of peace, any kind of peace of mind. And emotions have been stirred up. But I noticed that the difference, and so does he when he has time to reflect on it, that old grudges and old news and all those discussed were not brought up with the vehemence that all of us have held on to it previously. that doesn't negate the fact that he expects some kind of mastery from me. He teases me. Zenden, he calls me Zenden. Because he's not used to my Chinese name, Hai Yang. But he's called me that from time to time. But a little teasing tone. Okay, Zenden. That's not very enlightened-like. There's a real common misunderstanding. And I must admit that to some degree I entertain the same misunderstandings that with expectations of some mastery that I was never expecting to be a blissed out Buddha. I did expect, I guess the best word is a more levelness from myself. And my brother probably expects a even higher demonstration of mastery on my part. But as far as I'm concerned, it's never been about mastering my feelings, mastering my mind, mastering my behavior, mastering my personality. It's been about acceptance of my personality is not going to change because of my spiritual inquiry, my journey, my pursuit, my understanding. I'm me. And thank God for that. Thanks, Buddha. Yeah, it's beautiful. And my understanding will certainly not mastering. It's not about control. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Letting go. Letting go of perception of control. While the fundamental changes were that recognizing the illusion, resolving duality, living in the moment. These things can be worked on. I readily admitted that control still in my mind have eluded me, and I understand will continue to elude me. As Buddha said, my thoughts are like monkeys in the trees, jumping all over. But what I have learned to do is dispassionately witness my mind's shenanigans. And when I catch myself trying to explain to my brother that, like most people, he has a deluded understanding of what it means to complete your journey. And even as I said that, the complete my journey stuck in my throat because the journey is without end. But it's also a journey without movement. It's a journey without going anywhere. So, these are the idiosyncrasies and the shortcomings of using language to attempt to explain the unexplainable. So this image of monkeys in a tree chattering and watching and laughing and smiling comes quickly to mind. And we've also come up with, I've mentioned before, 1, 2, 3. I'm not a multitasker. 1 task, 2 tasks, 3 tasks, I'm done. 1 direction, 2 directions, 3 directions, I'm finished. It's like my hard drive is full. I will not entertain number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And he does that readily, with unbelievable ability, but almost with a glee. He likes that, and he's equipped to handle that. But I'm quick to notice that he's not a multitasker. When he's on task, I better not talk to him. 95% of the time, I don't talk. Unless I'm talking to my kitty, Pepper. I don't talk. I don't talk on the phone. I message people. And I'm silent. But I can be a chatterbox. And so can my brother. And having someone that I can share and listen and understand and share so much with, I haven't stopped talking. And I used to think that he's the only one that could out-talk me. But I see, after this prolonged period of silence, that given the right audience, I can out-talk him. I have more to say than he can process. So I can't listen, and so it's something we share in common, is not good multitaskers. I feel like I'm a little bit better in dealing with multiple things at a time, but it's only because I'm not so driven. He focuses, and whenever I attempt to focus, I get a headache. So I'm unfocused. This is what I had to learn. Zen meditation for me is not about focused, about stillness, about conquering the mind. Words like clarity elude me. Nothing is clear to me. It's like everything is in a fog. And part of that stems from me understanding for many, many years that all this stuff out there is not real. It's illusory. But I've mentioned many times, and I want to mention again, or it's being repeated, that just because you understand that it's not real does not forgive you for dealing with the world as you find it and as it finds you. You've given up all illusions of changing anything or anyone. Even when you focus within, there's basic parts, basic elements that make me who I am. And they are, I want to say not changeable, but I always want to leave a little wiggle room. I admit that there's always a possibility that someone might change, but only in the parameters of your intrinsic abilities. In other words, I can't sing to save my life, so I have no delusions that all of a sudden I'm going to be a tenor in an Italian opera. I've never been good at practicing anything other than meditation. So I don't expect that I will master an instrument. Be a blues guitar player. I'd love to be a classical guitar player. But I don't have a propensity to practice. And all these skills are a result of practice. But I also believe that it's part of an intrinsic gift, a talent, a propensity that you have, an ability that you have to master each of these given things. So here we are, in the midst. He'll have to be out of here in a couple of days, go back to Hawaii and do a lot more things before he'll ultimately, in the next few weeks, be able to return here permanently. His wife will join him some months later as she has her own chores, and not everyone can leave their home, can leave their country and move to another really different culture halfway around the world. Think about it. Could you? I've been here 21 years, but all my friends at home think, how is it possible? How did Dennis, how did Hai Yang do what he's done? And I don't have a ready answer. Having lived in Taiwan and understand some Chinese without much ability of getting the pronunciation right, I've learned about Yen Fen. And the common definition is destiny. But a friend told me once, God's will. And I like that. He said he's a scholar, a language scholar, a native Chinese speaker. And he's pondered this, and because actually this word, like many, is not directly or easily translated into English. Just like you can imagine that there's many words. Language also, after all, represents, but it's also tempered by the peoples, by the culture, by the community, by their value system. So here I am, proudly in the process of unfocusing, with my brother and his laser grasp of minutiae, details. Micromanagement, where I'm Mr. bigger than macro. Is her size bigger than macro? Macro unmanager. Maybe. So you can see that it's easy that we both need to back up a little bit, give each other some room. But it's like as well as you know somebody, blood and everything, and you share the first 20 years of your life intimately, you were there for everything, 40 plus years in between. Leave some room for compromise, understanding. But what prompted me to make this chapter or episode, I still haven't, I'm 55 talks in, and I still don't know what to call them. I haven't decided. First thing was to come up with the name Zen with a Smile, and that was inspiration. Like most things that work for me, came from that source of unlimited everything. With the understanding that the only thing that has everything besides everything is nothing or nothing. Here we go back to resolving those dualities. Seems quite simple to me actually now, where at one point I didn't get it. But inspiration, didn't I make this accomplishment? I didn't resolve the duality on my own 2 feet. It was a gift, an inspiration. It's inspiring. And I don't know at this point in my life if it could come any other way. But again, I want to leave wiggle room because of the uniqueness of each of us. Each of us has our own way. So those of you that have had family reunions, here it's common every year at Chinese New Year's to get together for food and camaraderie, conversation, and honestly, from outsider observing, I doubt that Chinese New Year is an easy time for most people. I think it's kind of like our Christmas, right? We build up to it, or anything that you anticipate. When you set the bar high, there's a lot of room for disappointment. And as most people are caught in the conditional tense, should have, would have, could have, they're imposing these unfair conditions on this communal family gathering. Their own expectations, so there's always disappointment. So just as we suffer a little bit of a letdown from Christmas, well, Chinese New Year's is their Christmas. It is the holiday of the year. Then I think both traditions come with their own sets of baggage, expectations. And expectations have proven to me that holding them, cherishing them, elevating their importance are chock full of potentials for failure, for disappointment, for depression. So these human relationships, especially on this bloodline, on this familial level, as I've been experiencing these last few days. And again, what's been most remarkable of these few days, besides the fact of being able to help my brother, to introduce him to this country, Taiwan, that I love so much, and I'm so pleased, I can tell you, that after several visits here, he's decided that this is the place where he wants to be as well. But so, in that spirit of a celebration, it's so exciting to really be able to talk to someone that can really understand. He knows what I've been through, as well as I know what he's been through. We know each other better than we know ourselves. And we're quick, we're sharp, we're quick to point out, and sometimes point out our insights on the other. That sometimes have an impact. But for me, it's been fun. As well as there's been an element of challenge, as everybody would have, dealing with those closest to them. But to reconcile. Then the expectations of who I should be are on him, more on him. And he has not that much understanding of what this means to the journey from progressive awakening to permanent. But he does have expectations. And I think deep down he knows that I'm living up to his expectations, but not in the comic book sense. And when I say comic book, I mean superficial level of knowledge. A comic book is to a novel what most people's understanding of the process of awakening is to a great novel. We have this cartoon, this comic book understanding of what a Buddha is, what a Buddha should be, this mastery of everything. It's very obvious that I haven't obtained. But the deeper understanding is that I live mastering, which just means control, doesn't it? I leave that to other, greater souls. Because I know that control is illusory, just as is everything else. The idea that anybody could control anything is Maya, illusion. And how to share with my brother that this is so. And I think no words, no words can change. No words will help. And as soon as I find myself going into any kind of explanation of the fact that we retain our personalities, that's something that we don't discard. That's something that we don't evolve beyond, at least in this physical incarnation. And I suspect that on the level of the soul or the spirit, when you're not in communion, as long as you're that drop splashing up out of the ocean, until you come back down to the mother ocean, the water, till you become inseparable from all around you, that indeed your personality persists. So even though ego and our construct, our mental, emotional, physical construct of who we think we are, there's something somehow puzzling to me, something that abides in the waking up, in the resolution, in the understanding of no separation, no division. So how is it that this intrinsic entity, some part of it carries with it, I begin to understand, continues with it on the journey that we're spiraling to the great beyond. And here's another conundrum. If we all are one and one is all, but something remains of non-illusory, non-maya substance. How is that so? Can enlightened people get angry? Absolutely. The difference comes from the nature of this anger. It's not held on to, it's not built upon, no grudges. It comes on the moment and leaves with the moment. So it's fun. Anyway, I'm just trying to share with you that I've really enjoyed this opportunity. I try to make the most of every opportunity that life brings me. And here's a big one. When I can look at the big picture, it's so easy. If I was in a temple, I was cloistered, I was a monk in a robe, I had my costume on, I do have my beads, but I have my Hawaiian hoodie, for goodness sakes. Very un-monk-like. But that's as much a part of me as any image of a monk. It's more me. So, where's the room for me in the unlimited. Well, it's here. And I can see it's not going anywhere. The difference is understanding that nothing is really in your control or anyone's control, my control. Absolutely nothing. All we have of a chance, a small window of opportunity to learn, to temper, to learn to work on ourselves and understand what's changeable and what isn't. Accepting our limitations. We're not created equal. We're created unequal. But that means unique. Unique gifts. Unique limitations. And within our aura lie all the possibilities for us. Each of us in our aura is surrounded with our potentials and possibilities. But these are not by any means all-encompassing. So learn to recognize your talents and your propensities. But also learn to recognize things that are not in your aura, not tools that are available for your use. That's what I've been doing for the last 3 days. I don't know about you.